Landing a new client feels amazing, but if you don't have a system for what happens next, things can start to feel chaotic pretty quickly. And that's where your onboarding process comes in. A good onboarding system makes you look professional, builds trust, and saves you time, even if you're brand new in business. And I guarantee you will show up more confidently in the sales process when you know exactly what you're going to do when that client says yes. I'm Kathleen Lawson, a business strategist helping women entrepreneurs, new and established, build structure, strategy, and accountability into their business. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. So, today I'm going to walk you through 4 simple steps to create your own onboarding process, one you can build in an afternoon. When you don't just wing this process, but actually take the time to think about it and create it, you get to think strategically and intentionally about how you want this to go, both for your client and your own operations. So let's start with the first step, the welcome experience. Your onboarding starts the minute somebody says yes. And your goal here is to make that new client feel confident that they made the right choice. So you want to communicate with them as quickly as you can. And you want to basically send them something within 24 hours. So a quick welcome email. And in this email, you want to welcome them, express that you're excited to work with them, and lay out very clearly what the next steps are, what happens now. And it doesn't all have to happen in that email, but you want to let them know what to expect, that they're going to get another email, that they're going to get the welcome packet, that you're going to call, whatever it's going to be. And this is where you start to let your own personality shine through. Are you super professional? Are you warm and a little less formal? You're starting to set the tone for your relationship right here. So be really intentional about it. And the first kind of official thing you want to do after welcoming them is send the contract. You want that contract signed before you start getting into everything else. And you want this contract to come from an attorney. So ideally, an attorney that creates the contract specifically for you in your business. But there are legal templates that are available that you can purchase online that have been created by attorneys. And for a lot of basic services, that could be a perfectly fine starting point for you. Also, there are a lot of CRMs, which are client management systems, that you might want to use to manage your entire onboarding process. Um, they will actually automate most of that process, if not all of it, for you. So it saves you loads of time and it definitely ups your professionalism. So some of the popular ones are Dubsado, Honeybook, 17 Hats. There are a lot of others. There are also quite a few that are specialty, depending on what industry or business that you are in. So, for example, Simple Practice is one that a lot of therapists use. Wealthbox is one that's specifically designed for financial advisors, and so on. There's a ton of them out there. So, we send that initial email, that initial welcome, we get the contract signed. And once the contract is signed, the next step is to handle the money side very cleanly and confidently. So, getting paid should be simple, but you need to make it really easy for your client and very clear for yourself. So, you want to send that invoice right after the contract. And this is where one of the CRM platforms comes in very handy because they will automate that. So, a client literally e-signs the contract and then the invoice pops up. If you were doing it manually, you want to make sure that you get it sent as quickly as possible after that contract is signed. And you want to make sure that all your payment terms are very clear on there. So due dates, if there's deposits that the client needs to make, if there's late fees, all of that. And if you are not using an automated invoice and you are creating it yourself manually, you want to make sure that it looks professional. Have your logo on there, make sure it's consistently formatted. And that also includes any reminders, maybe a couple days before the due date or after the due date. Those also need to be professional looking. So when your process feels organized, clients are going to immediately trust you more. Keep that in mind. And automating the invoicing process also makes sure that you are getting paid consistently, and it takes the emotion out of the process. So, a lot of business owners struggle with money mindset issues, and manual invoicing can play a difficult role in this. I have seen business owners who are frighteningly behind on invoicing because they have difficult emotions around sending the bill. I always tell them to automate the process. They still need to work through those mindset issues, but the invoices get sent and they are being paid. So, once the payment's set, it's time to organize your kickoff. This is where you set the tone for the entire relationship. Okay, so now that everything's official, you want your client to know exactly what comes next. So, sending out a welcome packet or a kickoff email is the thing to do here. And there's a lot of different things that might be included here. You've got to look through all of these and decide what's appropriate for your business, your process, and what you need to set up. So, the first thing is a start date or the first call you're going to have, maybe the details to that call, or it's a link to set up and schedule that call. Another thing to include here would be any pre-work or questionnaires. So here you want to think about the information that you need from the client in order to get started. And this is going to differ by industry or business. Um, a lot of people in the marketing world, like marketing strategists, social media managers, website developers, and so forth, they require a lot of information to get going. Business goals, target audiences, social platforms, things like that. Therapists might need information about previous therapy engagements or medical details. Life coaches might be looking for information about big changes in someone's life affecting them, and others don't need anything in advance beyond contact information. So you need to think about what you need. You'll also want to talk to the client here about what to expect in the first week or month. That you'll be meeting this many times, that you'll need this, you'll need to do that. Whatever it is that's going to happen in your engagement. You might also be creating a shared workspace or a document like a Google Drive or an Asana board for tracking action items and deliverables. Remember, your goal here isn't to be super fancy. It's about clarity. The smoother that your onboarding feels, the smoother the whole project is going to run. And then the last piece, and this is the one that kind of makes or breaks the client relationship, is about communication. So this step is where most new business owners get tripped up. They sign the client, they dive into the work, but they forget to talk about how they'll actually work together. So during onboarding, you want to set those expectations. So first of all, how and when you'll communicate. Email, Voxer, etc. If you want a good written record, such as approvals on decisions that might happen offline, you'll want to keep your you want to keep your communication to email. And be careful about offering text unless you're truly okay with that. You'll want to include your response times and remember that you need to actually follow the expectations you set. That is, if you tell your clients that you'll respond during business hours, regular business hours, but then you always answer the Saturday night texts, your clients will grow to expect that. So you can use that scheduling feature on your email, send tomorrow or send Monday morning at 8 o'clock. You'll also want to include here any expectations that you are setting on the client, such as deadlines, prep work, feedback windows, number of revisions. So, for example, let's say you are a copywriter. Maybe you are giving them a window. I'm going to send you copy. You have 2 days or 3 days, to get that back. Or maybe it's a web developer, or a graphic designer. There are 2 revisions included in this project, or whatever it might be. So whatever those expectations are, they need to be very clearly communicated here. So setting these boundaries up front prevents frustration later, and it helps your client feel supported, not ignored. Remember, clear communication isn't rigid, it's reassuring. So once these four pieces are in place, you send that initial welcome in the contract, you get your payment, you've got the whole kickoff and the welcome email and all the organizational pieces, and then your client communication and the expectation piece. Now you've got an onboarding system that's going to save time, build trust, and make every client feel taken care of. Remember, your onboarding doesn't need to be super fancy or complex, just a clear, repeatable process. If you'd like to see how to structure yours, download my free Streamlined and Standout Client Onboarding System guide below. And if you're ready to start building the kind of business that runs smoothly behind the scenes, check out my CEO Blueprint program. Thanks for watching.